Hello, my name is Alison, LeClaire, and I'm the Ambassador of Canada to Russia. I'd like to say at the start how grateful I am to the Library of Foreign Literatures for bringing us together in this virtual space and for giving me the opportunity to share with you a little bit about the work we're doing to promote greater cultural and arts exchanges and engagements between our two peoples. I'm speaking to you today from a very special place. This piano has graced the official residence of Canada's ambassador in Moscow for decades. In 1957, it was used by Glenna Gulda. Mr. Gould's performances in Moscow and then in Leningrad were groundbreaking at a time of political tension in the midst of the Cold War. He broke barriers to connect lovers and scholars of music all across Russia. This piano, down to the cigarette burn on its surface, is a treasured symbol of the power of art to bring people together. I arrived in Russia only recently, in January of this year, eager to find opportunities like that, ways to showcase Canada to Russians and to build connections with them. Of course, I almost immediately found myself in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis as it unfolded across the world. This crisis has sharpened our realization of how globalized our lives have become and how connected and interdependent we are. I think it is pushing us to think more creatively and to innovate in order to find ways to sustain cooperation and exchanges. I think we have also become much more attuned to the importance of art and culture in our lives and to their contribution to our health and well-being. Through the shared experience and creation of art, we can find common ground to bridge differences and ultimately to build relationships founded on mutual trust and open dialogue. It builds connections outside the traditional institutions and encourages people-to-people relationships. The Library of Foreign Literatures is a great example of an institution that does excellent work in this area. We work together with Francophone embassies in Moscow to serve the genuine interest that many Russians have for the French language. As a result, with the support of Canada and others, the Francotech Cultural Centre was established in this library 4 years ago. Together, we continue to collaborate with Francotech to showcase French-Canadian literature and art and to expand its collection of books and other resources. As a newly arrived Canadian ambassador, it was particularly heartwarming for me to learn and discover past meaningful collaborations between Russians and Canadians in the cultural and art space. I'd like to take a minute to share a few of those with you. They include, for example, the first National Ballet of Canada tour in Moscow and St. Petersburg at Stanislavski and Mariinsky theaters in 2018 as part of Diana Vishneva's Context Festival. This year, the festival was planning to bring another famous Canadian dance troupe named Kid Pivot. Kid Pivot was going to present their version of Gogol's The Government Inspector. Those performances, unfortunately, had to be cancelled due to the pandemic, but happily have been moved to next year. Last summer, Chekhov's Theatre Festival hosted the world premiere of The Seven Streams of the River Ota, a 7-hour play by renowned Canadian actor and director Robert Lepage, a hit with the festival's audience, or so I hear. Robert Lepage has been working with the Theatre of Nations to stage a production of Mikhail Bulgakov's novel, The Master and Margarita. Its premiere, which was scheduled for this November, has also had to be rescheduled until next year because of the pandemic. But speaking of Mikhail Bulgakov, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to tell you another reason why this place is special. I'm speaking to you today from Canada's new official residence in the center of Moscow. Known as Kakuchevs House, it was designed and built by renowned Russian architect Lev Kakuchev as his family home at the turn of the last century. 20 years later, it was the home of Yelena, future spouse of Mikhail Bulgakov. Legend tells us that Yelena inspired the character of Margarita and that this house inspired descriptions of her home. It's truly a privilege to represent my country from this beautiful and storied house. Another example of ongoing fruitful Canadian-Russian collaboration are the joint productions of the Moscow Musical Theatre with the Canadian artist collective Les Sept Doigts, or the Seven Fingers. Together, they have successfully staged several joint performances. The latest one, Primetime, was released just before the pandemic started. Lastly, and as an example that our collaboration and exchanges in arts and culture extend well beyond the familiar cultural hotbeds of Moscow and St. Petersburg, we were very pleased this year to be able to grow our partnership with the Golden Raven International Film Festival, which took place in Chukotka in March. I was very much looking forward to my first visit to Chukotka and participating in the festival, which included a program curated by the Canadian Imaginative Film and Media Arts Festival, the largest Indigenous film and media festival in the world. Like so many of our plans this year, my visit fell victim to the pandemic, but the show did go on, and we were delighted that the film festival went ahead and some of the Canadian filmmakers were able to participate. The Canadian artistic community and cultural industries, like their Russian counterparts, are now going through difficult times as necessary public health measures make it impossible to showcase their work in the familiar ways that we've become accustomed to. I remain hopeful, however, that through creativity and innovation, Canadians and Russians will realize cooperative, creative visions together. We will be here at the Embassy to support them, and I will definitely be looking forward to seeing those collaborations. We truly believe that investing in the strength of our people-to-people connections is key to the health and longevity of the relationship between our two countries. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Goodbye.